Rajan, it was said till now that the internet, whenever you're talking about using the internet to connect with the masses, you're talking about a small section. It's the elite. It doesn't really affect people. Now that's starting to change, and I have to say Android and things like that are also having a massive impact. And as in the next year or two, the price of Android-enabled smartphones starts to drop down to, let's say, the $50 mark, you could perhaps have an explosion of connected people who can then continue to communicate in the ways that you were talking about.
Yeah, I think, well, firstly, I think it's important to keep in mind we already have 200 million Indians on the internet. India is adding 3 to 4 million internet users a month. So essentially by the election time, we will have almost 240 million Indians on the internet. Over 70% of registered voters in urban India are already on the internet, right? I think there's a lot of discussion today about Indians giving feedback, a lot of chatter, maybe negative chatter. Actually, that's not the point. I think what's happening, we've done a lot of research on this topic, and what we found is a large number of Indians are doing research about political parties, about politicians, about local issues, and they're becoming aware. A small minority of them are actually voicing their opinion. That's actually not what's really going on. What's happening is, they're doing extensive amounts of research about what political parties stand for, about what specific politicians and candidates stand for, and also trying to understand how much progress is being made. And by doing that research, they're becoming more informed, they're making decisions, and a very small majority of them are being vocal. So I think there's a lot of media attention, and I think political parties and organizations are being are focusing on all the chatter, if I might call it. Actually, that's not the point. The point is hundreds of millions of Indians are making decisions based on information that they're getting. And I think the other thing that we found, we published this research a couple of months ago, actually, Vikram, together with you. A large number of them are undecided. And the reason they're undecided is because they have yet not got the kind of information, or they don't like what they're hearing, right? And I think this is no longer niche. It's not about a 10, 20, 30, 40 million people on the internet, on social networks. It's about 200 million plus 3 to 4 million added every month who are now engaged deeply in understanding what these parties stand for, political parties stand for. So I think it's pretty profound.
And they may make their voting decisions based on what they find on the...
Well, I think we've already seen that, actually. Our view is, it's amazing. We've been tracking internet behavior over the last 6 to 8 weeks. It is amazing what is happening.
Professor Varshney.
A slight disagreement with that. And here is, I think, one way to think about it. So there are 200 million internet users in India. Only 25 million in rural India. So there is right away an urban-rural gap. India is still primarily rural, 68% demographically, and because rural India has tended to vote more than urban India in the last 20 years, which may change, electorally, the rural weight is about 75%, not 68%, and perhaps higher. That part of India has not been penetrated by the internet. So this is an urban phenomenon, and actually urban middle-class phenomenon. If the estimated size of Indian middle class is 300, 200 to 225 are using the internet at this point, so about 70% of that. So no, we are not reaching the urban poor, and we are not reaching the countryside yet through the internet. It may change in 5 years and 10 years.
Rajan, could I get a reaction from that? I mean, certainly if you were talking about the internet being based on PCs and laptops and desktops, that would almost certainly be the case in the foreseeable future. Is what he's saying changing now with Android phones?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Today is an urban phenomenon. Actually, the number is more like 50 million are outside of are from rural India. But what is happening, well, firstly, you could debate whether 250 million connected Indians who are deeply connected can swing an election or not, right? I mean, I think that's for, I'm not in that business. That's for, I think, political parties to decide whether they cannot. Our view about the data we are seeing is probably sure. What happened in Delhi, right? Lots of things happen in Delhi, but clearly this is an urban city that is highly connected. Not every place is like Delhi. The other thing that's happening, you have to keep in mind, of the 4 million Indians who are coming to the internet every month, 70% are not from metros. So every single day, we're having millions of Indians from outside of the metros that are connecting the internet. So that probably, you're absolutely right, may not make a difference by 2014. But if you fast forward another 4 years,
Yes.
you're talking about 5 to 600 million Indians connected onto the internet, and then we are clearly getting to that number of 750 million registered
I
voters.
do agree that by 2019, by the time we have next elections, this would be a very significant phenomenon.